please welcome to the stage Sonia Shorey, who's the President and CEO of the Invest Ottawa, who is a dynamic, values-driven leader and a trusted partner in our Ottawa Unlimited collaboration. She is truly a, they probably want me to move. She is truly a servant leader, a champion of innovation, investment, and inclusive growth, and playing a pivotal role in advancing Ottawa's defense and security strategy. Sonia, thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you so much, Suling. Bonjour tout le monde. C'est un honneur d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui. Je tiens à adresser mes sincères félicitations à mon ami Suling, la Chambre de commerce d'Ottawa, ainsi l'ensemble des partenaires pour cette collaboration exceptionnelle. This includes all three levels of government, city, province, the Government of Canada, our valued partners at FedDev. A big special welcome to Nancy Gardner joining us today. Every company, founder, post-secondary institution, partner, economic, innovation, and otherwise. We could not do this without you. Yesterday at Davos, you have heard Prime Minister Mark Carney delivered one of the most consequential speeches by a Canadian leader in a generation. He named a reality, a new world order, a moment defined by risk and by responsibility. And he called for something deeply Canadian: resilience, resolve, fortitude, courage, strength. Not slogans, but action. That speech was not abstract, and it was a call to leadership, to unity, to values-based collaboration, to rising together. And today, that call meets action right here in our city. Because this moment demands more than defense spending. It demands sovereign capability, mission-driven innovation, trusted homegrown technology, unwavering support for those who courageously serve. Defense, economy, security, sovereignty, and community are no longer separate conversations. They are one integrated system, and Canada must strengthen all of it, all at once. Canada's capital region is doing exactly this. We are the only place in this whole country where national defense, security, intelligence, and financial governance intersect, where 330 defense, aerospace, space, and security companies employ more than 10,000 people, where 1,800 tech firms and almost 100,000 tech workers, together with Canada's largest tech park, create a unique global tech hub with the highest tech talent concentration in all of North America, ahead of Silicon Valley. We are home to 65 government labs and Canada's only cluster of 4 NATO Diana test centers, including ARIX.0, and to decades of innovation leadership. This spans AI, cyber, drones, autonomy, semiconductor, space, secure networks, Arctic solutions, and advanced systems. This is where we protect what matters most to our country: our freedom, security, our people, our economy, and our sovereignty. This combination cannot be replicated elsewhere, and it must never be taken for granted. Here, we are building sovereign capabilities that anchor our forces. We're standing with our allies and turning innovation into readiness and readiness into impact. Together as an integrated capital region, Ottawa-Gatineau together, we have developed a strategy with and for our community that puts these strengths to work for our country, for our forces, and our allies. And today, we are the only region in this country that has taken that step. And I'm very grateful to Kevin for the feedback he shared, because he has given us international perspective that we are doing something very powerful in this region that they don't see anywhere else in the world. And I think that's something worth celebrating, and that is because of this community. With focused investment, we are going to deliver disproportionate impact. We have modestly estimated, and we are updating those estimates now, a minimum of 18,000 new jobs and almost $10 billion in new GDP, with $3 billion invested into this region in a multitude of ways that will deliver new sovereign capabilities, accelerated commercialization and exports, and meaningful contributions to allied security. This is why we are pursuing bold nation-building opportunities like that bank, and we all know there is nowhere better in the entire world than right here for that bank to be headquartered. And we are pursuing it ambitiously and aggressively every single day. The leaders on the stage that will be here with us today, they're not debating theory, they're delivering, and they're showing what values-based collaboration looks like when it matters most. This panel exists today for one reason: to ask why staying this course matters, why accelerating matters, why unity matters now, and why Canada's capital region is the place to do it. Because this is our moment, and Canada's capital is meeting it, and we're meeting it with confidence, with conviction, and national resolve. To every founder, innovator, investor, veteran, post-secondary institution, every courageous member of our forces, policymaker, and partner contributing to this mission, we thank you. Canada showed the world yesterday what leadership looks like. Today, we're going to show how it gets done. So let's hear it firsthand. Please join me in welcoming to our stage Mitch Karkner, co-founder and COO of Dominion Dynamics, on the heels of a $21 million raise announced one day ago. Glenn Cowan, founder and CEO of 19, the only defense VC in this country, anchored right here. Dan Goldberg, president and CEO, Telesat, 1,000 employees, and together with MDA Space, Amy McLeod, vice president, corporate communications, the two companies that are the first recipient of the Defense Investment Agency investment that Jenna Sudds announced here in Ottawa. Who knew when we designed this panel in December that Arctic sovereignty and security would be at the pivotal moment that it is at this moment in time? And that's really where we're going to begin our panel. Why this moment matters. We're living through a period of profound geopolitical change and risk, as we know. From your vantage point, I would love to hear from each of you what makes this moment fundamentally different, and why does it demand faster, more coordinated action between government, industry, and allies? Amy, my friend, why don't we start with you?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me. Thrilled to be here. I have had a 4-decade career in Ottawa in the tech sector, in the defense sector. It started up on the Hill many, many decades ago. And so Ottawa's home for me, and the community, the business community, the community at large is where I raised my family, where my husband and I raised our daughter. It's a very big part of my life. And so this moment for me and for our company, MDA Space, and I would say, I hope for others, or the way that I think of it at least, is rooted in the fact that I have been the beneficiary of a wonderful quality of life, an amazing education, world-class healthcare, fabulous career that I hope is not over. I don't think it is, because of the foundation that came out of the Second World War. It was built coming out of the Second World War, the industrial strength, all of the policies, all of the programs, all of the things that have contributed to Canada's very privileged position in the world. And that's at risk right now. That's what that moment means to me, is that foundation is gone. I believe the Prime Minister when he says that. I feel it in my gut, that foundation that I have been so grateful for and that I benefited for, and I think probably many of us in the room have, is gone. And I feel a very strong ownership and responsibility that we have to do what my parents did and their generation did, is put that foundation back in place for the next 80 years, for the next 8 generations, for whatever it takes. That's, for me, the root of what we're talking about. Amazing.
Thank you so much, Amy. Dan, welcome.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Sonia, for the incredible evangelical work that you do to promote our city. It's greatly appreciated, and it's coming at a very important time. And you asked a question about time. Why is this moment so important? I mean, listen, in some ways, some of us who've worked in the fields that we've been working in, I've been in the space sector for 30-something years. I know a little bit about Mitch and Glenn's and Amy's background. In many ways, I think a lot of us are thinking is, God, it took us too long to get to this point in time. For many, many, many years, we, and not just Canada, but most of Canada's allies, have been derelict in terms of making the investments that we've needed to make to ensure our security, ensure our sovereignty, and meet our commitments that we've made, over and over again and haven't been living up to. And for those of us in industry who have built companies with the kinds of capabilities and expertise to partner with government and to deliver on the promises that we've made, candidly, it's been very frustrating. We've done everything we could over, I'd say, some decades to try to catalyze the moment that we now find ourselves in. feels to me that this moment has mostly been catalyzed by things that have gone on outside of our borders. But so, you know, in some ways perversely, we're glad that we are where we are. We've got deep capabilities in this town and in this country to help our government meet the ambitious goals that they've been talking about, that they've set. We're delighted to hear the things that the government is saying about what they want to do, and we're seeing some early first steps, and certainly the contract that MDA and Telesat received in partnership with the federal government is I think, a great concrete indication of that. But in any event, now, you know, we're sort of finally here. But oh my gosh, we've got an enormous amount to do, and we're keen to get at it.
We love that, and we're grateful you are. Glenn,
Was the question why now?
it is why this moment matters, and I know you have so much rich insight for us on this.
Because we're going to war.
Yep.
And that's what no one is talking about. And I may sound alarmist, but this is the spending that we're experiencing right now is not a job creation program. It's not an economic development. It's a mobilization for war on a scale that we have not seen. And if you have the ability to look behind the curtain and understand sort of how some of these sort of events will unfold, we're seeing it in real time, and it's being sensationalized in a very emotive way. But the seeds have been planted decades ago. And Canada's late to the party. And so if we fail to plan, then we better plan to fail. And defense is an expensive business. And we're going to have to make the decision whether we want to pay now or pay later. And if we pay later, it's going to be way more expensive, and it's not just going to be financial. And so, you know, the moment is ripe to bring this together, because the way that we stop going to war, and I've been to war, and it's terrible, you be so bloody deterrent that no one wants to fight you. And that's how you don't go to war. And that's what the defense tech industry and companies that are building really creative, really agile, and really lethal systems, so that we become such a prickly porcupine that no one wants to interfere or sort of attack. And that's what's happening. And so that may sound alarmist. I really don't think I'm wrong. I hope I am, but there is a window where we can collectively work together to not have that happen. I'll pause there.
Thank you for that insight.
Am I still
Mitch?
on? Why now?
Yes.
Okay. I'll be less alarmist. First off, I just want to thank you, Sonia, for all your work. Tireless. You're an absolute machine for the city of Ottawa. Let's give Sonia a round of applause. We founded Dominion Dynamics 7 months ago on D-Day. We fundamentally believe that Canada requires a neo-prime, a sovereign integrator for the country. What a neo-prime is, it's all about speed, rapidly developing capabilities, iterating with the warfighter to ensure that we can compress the procurement timelines and the technology timelines that can often be decades when warfighters need capabilities in weeks and months. Why now? I think my panel mates said a number of very legitimate reasons why now makes sense. But I will call out the technology shift that has occurred in battlefields around the world. The shift in technology is happening in days in Ukraine, and we saw in Israel in that conflict. Our military is prepared for a war, 1970, 1980s timeline, and we need companies like Dominion and many other companies like us to start in this country to build capabilities that we can put into the hands of our warfighters. Our business model is build, deploy, iterate, and then sell to the CAF, all on our balance sheet. That's so we can expedite that process.
So you can see it is going to be a very rich discussion today, and we're going to launch into some rapid-fire questions so that we get lots of perspective in the time that we have left. The role of industry in sovereign capability. Defense readiness, we know, is no longer built by government alone. You have just heard it. What do you think is the critical role industry must play now? Building, perhaps, Mitch, I'll go to you on exactly what you just said. What is the role of industry in areas like secure communication, AI, space, Arctic operations, which, of course, is your expertise?
Yeah, I think there's a number of different things that we could talk about that industry can do. It's about capital, it's about focus, it's about bringing our capabilities. This city has an insane amount of talented engineers, software, hardware, et cetera. But what really Can you go back to the question, Sonia? Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
What,
I did a Kevin
what
Reed.
is that role that industry must play that is
Yeah,
really
like,
unique
I
right
think
now?
the industry role really is about ambition and creativity. That's quite frankly what we've been missing in this country in the defense space is an ambition to actually build big capabilities and become primes and compete with Americans who are going to show up with similar capabilities. It's really having a grand vision for what a company can be in the country. And I think that that's a major role amongst many other things.
I think Mitch and I are biased towards early stage, sort of technically enabled, venture-backed, agile companies that are just moving very quickly, which is a different business model from a lot of the larger companies playing in the same space. And the reality is we need both. And we need exquisite, very capital-intensive military programs like submarines and fighter jets and river-class destroyers. But we also need attritable mass, we need counter-UAS systems, we need robotics, we need software. And the next war is going to be defined by software and won on the radio frequency spectrum. So we also need to understand how signals intelligence is playing into that, from the scale of early stage technologists right up through the large integrators and primes that are delivering on some of these capabilities. And we're going to see that stack integrate differently. We're also seeing a public-private partnership significantly increasing in importance because the government has lost relevance in a lot of these spaces. The government used to have a monopoly on capability. Now, the private sector is the wellspring of innovation. Private capital is funding it. We don't have to ask permission. We just do what makes sense and we deliver a capability. And we will deliver that capability to the end users based on an understanding of what they need, not waiting for the D&D to tell us what they want. We're going to build it for them based on what we think. And so we hedge our cash in the build-out.
And to build on what Glenn's saying, I've been in dozens of conversations with senior military leadership over the last year, and the number one thing we hear from the CAF is they don't have capacity right now to onboard these net new capabilities. So innovative models, that's where industry can stand up to be a GoCo or a COCO type model, where industry is actually creating outcomes for the CAF so that they can deal with the situation internally, onboard capabilities that they've already been told they have to, and do force generation. There's been a massive recruiting challenge, so industry can really step up to provide capacity in the near term.
Amy would love to hear from you on this.
Maybe I'll...
And Dan, yes, our anchors.
Sorry, Amy, just I agree with Glenn's point about it's going to take a variety of companies to do this. Ideally, those are Canadian companies and they're sovereign. I'll just reflect on Telesat's experience. So we're investing $6 billion right now on an advanced low Earth orbit satellite constellation. We started doing that 3 years ago. And we saw where the puck was going on this. We knew that this is a capability that our government was going to need. In fact, they had sort of screwed around with Arctic sovereignty and having a space capability to manage whether that's fighter jets or UAVs or drones or forward operating bases or remote sensors. At the end of the day, you need a communications fabric to interact with all of those different platforms, but they weren't moving. They talked about it, but they weren't moving. There was no budget allocated to it. So finally, we're in a highly competitive global industry, and importantly, it's a dual use capability. We just went ahead and did it. And I'd say if I have any criticism about, kind of Canadian corporate culture writ large, you don't see an enormous amount of risk-taking, at least with large Canadian companies, and you don't see a big thriving VC community here.
It's coming.
100% it's coming, but it hasn't existed. And for me, it's fantastic to see the government finally shifting its mindset and its culture and wanting to do things differently and faster and lean in and partner. But Canadian industry and Canadian corporate culture is going to need to adapt too if we're going to be a great partner and help Canada get to where it needs to go. And we've got to get there fast because we're late.
Yeah, I'll just add what hasn't been said maybe from our perspective. We think a lot about being a mission partner at MDA Space. And you're fully into it, right? That's a fully loaded phrase. It's not a transaction. You are in the mission until the mission ends. If the mission is not going well, you are in the mission and you are fixing the mission. I think what we have seen historically and prior to my time in MDA space, but continued in that sort of period of scarcity where there wasn't a lot of defense spending, is that the customer, let's say the Government of Canada, DND or others, is the mission authority and the technical authority. We talk a lot about the customer being the mission authority and leaving the technical authority to industry. We know what dual-use technology can do. Nobody needs to tell Dan how to run a satellite operation. Nobody needs to tell MDA Space how to build a satellite. Tell us what your goal is, and we will give you the options of what your best approach is. That's, I think, where we can pick up a lot of speed and agility in this next wave, when there's funding and, most importantly, capability requirements that are urgent.
One of the other aspects I was saying to Michael over lunch is the role of government, I think, is going to take an increasingly important role for governance, oversight, regulatory, and permissions. We don't need the government to provide the technical solution. The private sector will do that. But we've invested in capabilities that have passive capabilities, and if we were to use those systems actively, we would be in contravention of CRTC, we'd be in contravention of the Criminal Code of Canada, but our clients are not. And when our clients use those capabilities, they bring with them the authorities to be able to operate some of these capabilities. And so, you know, we advocate for stronger public-private partnership and integration of a private company into the more inner workings of the government, like a mission partner, so that they educate and inform the private sector as part of the team and not some outsider sort of looking in. And so anytime we, you know, engage with senior military leadership or folks in the intelligence community, we just say, the more you can tell us about what you're doing, the better informed we are in how we build. And the coolest thing about venture is private capital has become a tool of national security that we're just sort of waking up to now from an agility perspective, but also from an intelligence and information perspective. We sit on the boards of companies whose clients are doing stuff around the world, and they tell who, what, where, when, why, and how many. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to start deducing where and how some of these assets, ideas, and policies are starting to shift. And that's coming through the venture and private capital ecosystem, and it's an incredibly important and powerful source of intelligence that, again, we can fuse and work together with our national security enterprise folks to create a really rounded, really capable and professional picture of what's actually happening out there.
And I know this is at the heart. Every day we wake up on the news, what are we hearing about? Arctic security and sovereignty. Every single one of these leaders and their firms are in this space, delivering Canadian-made solution and investment. I would love to hear from each of you about how we ensure Canada is equipped to protect our Arctic sovereignty while contributing to allied security and stability in the North. Is there a more pertinent question today?
I'll start. We co-founded an Inuit-led defense company with our partners at Kikatalik Corporation. It's the first majority-owned Inuit company out of Iqaluit, Nunavut. From a special forces perspective, trust the person on the ground, and there's no one that understands our Arctic and northern communities better than our Inuit, First Nations, and Indigenous folks.
Yeah, at Dominion, we're focused on building a product called AuraNet. It's a persistent surveillance capability that's attritable, that puts sensors in strategic locations across the north. We're working with Glenn and his team. This allows us to create deterrence and understanding of what's going on in the Arctic. That is the first step to creating sovereignty, working closely with the Indigenous communities to get out on the land, making sure that we actually understand where these choke points are. And we'll continue to iterate and work with partners to ensure that we go from deterrence to actual capability that the military can go and use.
I'll jump in, and I'm sure Dan will have an opinion on this, but I think the part of the what do we do is understanding the nature of the problem from the end user perspective. The end user is the Canadian forces who are up there and the communities that are there as well. I feel it really important to say you don't need to compromise when you buy Canadian tech. What the government did in December with the announcement of the ESCAPE program, which is essentially to provide communications in the Arctic to our military people, platforms, and operations, it's a massive vulnerability at the moment. The need was there, the problem was clear. We have everything we need in Canada, at Telesat, at MDA Space, with our Canadian-based supply chains and teams to address that problem. Start with the problem and then look in Canada and see who's got the expertise to answer that need. It's sometimes that simple.
I love it. Dan?
Well, for Telesat, we've been providing mission-critical services across the North for like the past half century. But to Mitch's point, technology's changing rapidly, and so, yeah, and Telesat is, I think, the most advanced satellite services provider on the face of the earth. Our headquarters, I can see it from this window. We've got, close to 1,000 people across the street who are rocket scientists and experts in orbital mechanics and advanced antennas. And we are, about 11 months away from launching what will be the most state-of-the-art capable low Earth orbit satellite broadband constellation that will provide resilient, secure, high throughput coverage across the entire world, but with a heavy focus in the North. It's our roots. We've got ground stations all across the North. And now we're delighted to welcome the Government of Canada as a partner in that. NMDA has been a partner of ours for a very long time. So in any event, and the way I think about it, here again, we're investing about $6 billion right now. We're just getting started. There's so much more that needs to get done. We're delighted that we've got a willing, enthusiastic government partner at this point in time. We need a strong ecosystem, and Mitch and I have had conversations before about the way that we can work together to meet everyone's mission. And so in any event, we're, for me, actions speak louder than words, and we're putting our money where our mouth is.
And we are so grateful to have these companies here, and I will add in snow, sleet, and ice. You didn't think it was a competitive advantage, our weather here at AreaX.0. We test these technologies in all of it. So that's a great lead-in to the next question. Why Ottawa? I see my colleague Jens, when we do our global expansion missions, we go out and we promote why Ottawa. You hear it from us. I want to hear from each of you what you believe the most distinct advantages are of building and scaling your defense innovation companies here from Canada's capital.
I'll start. So the defense industry operates at the center, at the intersection of government, business, and innovation. And all of those audiences, all of those stakeholders are resident here in Ottawa. The ultimate decision makers are here. The talent you talked about all of the talent. We talked about all of the defense talent that exists. We talked about all the tech talent. It's all here. And then ultimately, and I want to keep coming back to this because it anchors everything for me, the end user is here. I love that we're using words like war and warfighter, because these are words we use in the defense industry. Those are the people that we build this stuff for. They're here. Their needs are easy to identify because they're here. They've been in battle. They know what it is. Those are the people we're working for, ultimately. And so all of that is resident in Ottawa. And so that, for me, in addition to the weather, I think gives us an amazing advantage and ability to actually meet the mission. It's just the core ingredients and the people that we need to engage with are here. They're in Ottawa.
Yeah, and I'll violently agree with Amy. Those are the key building blocks that makes it so powerful. Our headquarters is here. It is an absolutely, it is the most logical place to run a global, dual-use, high-tech focused business like ours, now more so than ever when we have a government that is paying attention and is a willing partner. And maybe the only thing I would add is that, we support all of our allies all around the world, and having their embassies here and their defense attachés here and having their foreign ministers come in and out of Ottawa from time to time to meet with their counterparts, that's another powerful thing about being here.
I will add one thing. We could use the bank, Kevin, in addition.
We're
just
on it.
FYI.
Yeah, we're a G7 capital. let's start playing bigger, you know? That would be my take on these comments. And then Ottawa, as it pertains to the Arctic, is a very logical air bridge. And sustaining and building and developing capabilities requires that type of an air bridge. And we're getting that infrastructure through Ottawa Airport, through some of the airlines, and some of these next logical jump-off points like Iqaluit, which is going to be the site of the first operational support hub, or the build-out of a new Canadian Forces footprint in the Arctic. So when you just think of a logistics chain, it starts with sort of your rear echelon, and Ottawa is a very logical rear echelon to supply, support, and sustain the Arctic.
Yeah, there's not much I can add above and beyond what's already been said, but I will give you the real decision-making experience that we had within Dominion around making Ottawa our headquarters. Before we founded the company on June 6th, we sat in our office March 2025 and kind of whiteboarded advantages, Toronto, Ottawa, other locations. Ottawa's my home, so I obviously was a little bit biased in this conversation. But we really took an engineering and a systems approach to making that decision. The decision makers are here, the engineering capacity is here, the capital is here, hopefully a little bit more banking capital coming as well, Kevin. But when you're designing systems, engineering systems, it's all about eliminating latency within the system. And so how do you do that? You headquarter yourself as close to the customer and the talent as possible so you can actually drive innovation faster. If we chose Toronto, yes, the latency is only a small drive down the 401, but over time that compounds. So Ottawa makes sense, and I will go talk to any founder in the defense industry and advocate that this is where they should be. And my real estate agent is gonna love me a lot for bringing people to the city. And I will say, there is an influx in people that want to come and build in the defense space. We've been able to recruit people back from Palo Alto, Austin, Texas, New York, Washington, all Canadians, to Ottawa. So the ambition is there.
This is why we love our companies, our founders, and leaders like this. If we were to get one thing correct in this next foreseeable future, and this is our closing question, what is it absolutely essential that we get right now? One key decision that we must get right.
It's not a decision, but I would say we need to, Kevin talked a little bit about it, and I think when you listen to this panel, you get it a little bit more. We need to truly understand the defense sector and the defense industry in order to make your strategy a reality. It's big business, it's very innovative, but it's different, and it's mission critical. And that is the piece that I think as a community we need. We haven't done it in a long time at scale. And so I think we truly need to understand what the industry is and what it takes in order to operate in it, in order to be successful, and to root that here in Ottawa.
For me, it will be making sure that the government actually delivers on all the great things that they say they want to do. It's easy to talk about streamlining and accelerating defense procurement. You can set up a new agency, and I'm rooting for the DIA and Doug Guzman to be super successful in meeting their mission. But the reality is, and I've worked in this town for a long time, actually doing it and changing the culture and changing the procedures and the methodologies and whatnot, that is going to be a bit of a heavy lift. And so we are delighted to hear the change of direction and the new policies and the massively increased targets in terms of defense spending and whatnot, but you got to deliver. And so for us, that's what we're going to be paying the most attention to, and we are going to be doing everything we can to help them get to the right outcome.
Amazing.
I would say anyone that touches the defense and security ecosystem, it's speed, speed, speed. And the 70% solution now is better than the 100% solution too late.
Yeah, well, Glenn took my speed comment, but what I will say is there is a follow-on to speed. There will be failures. There will be companies that don't work, products that don't execute, et cetera. And as a populace, as a nation, as a voting base, we need to accept that that is going to be something that's going to happen if we're going to accelerate investment, procure at a different clip. So just understanding that that's something that's going to be a reality and really taking that home.
Thank you so much for your incredible insight. These leaders are delivering on our innovation strategy with respect to defense. That is not something we strive to be. We are a global defense innovation hub. There is countless actions underway, achieving impact, attracting investment, and changing what we are doing for our forces, for our economy, and our country. Stay tuned, because we are just getting started, and it is going to be an incredible ride, especially with companies and leaders like this. Thank you all. Thank you, Sue Ling, for the opportunity.
As we're taking that that photo, let me begin our wrap-up comments. Appreciate we're a little bit behind time here, but what fantastic value. And what an incredible panel. I don't think I've ever heard that type of content in my quarter century at OBJ. What a completely unique discussion, appreciating the assets that are in our city. And it seems like we're confronted by challenges everywhere, but it also seems we have the right people at the right time, right leadership. Some of the Ottawa Unlimited people working together, Sue Ling, to push this forward. So a big thank you to Sonia, Mitch, Glenn, Dan, Amy for the panel. Thank Mayor Sutcliffe for being here today. Duong Suda for providing our economic update. Kevin Reed, I finally understand what the Defense and Resilience Bank is about. I've read about it, but I needed to hear from someone. And of course, Jenna Suds. Quick OBJ note, 2026 will be full of many changes for OBJ. It means we're celebrating our 30th anniversary. We are switching our print format. Thank you. From a tabloid newspaper to a beautiful new oversized glossy magazine. It's currently printed in Quebec City and on its way back to Ottawa, so we're anxious to share that with the city. Completely different take on content, photography, design, so on and so forth. Our distribution will be directed mostly to our subscribers, our OBJ insiders and local VIPs. Stay tuned for some changes to our website, which of course is the hub of local business news here in Ottawa, and also a new mobile app coming this year from OBJ. I want to, and a quick thanks to Cindy, Robin, and Eric from the OBJ team. Give us a wave. If you need more information on OBJ, I think they're over there. Go talk to them. On behalf of the Ottawa Board of Trade, the Ottawa Business Journal, I want to thank you for joining us for a remarkable 2026 Ottawa's Economic Outlook Luncheon. Thank you to our sponsors, the City of Ottawa, Mann Lawyers, Rogers Centre, the Hotel de Casino Lac Limy, Event Design, Oakwood Design and Builders, Rogers TV. This is being recorded on Rogers and will be available both on the TV channel and their YouTube channel. We'll let you know when that's posted. Please leave your name tags at the registration desk. Please enjoy the rest of your week and hope to see you at the Mayor's Breakfast in February. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.